Hi everyone, today I am sharing a few of my tips for my birth plan. I am currently 30 weeks pregnant. I'm expected in a few months. Right now it is April, but I'm expected in early June. So I have been drafting up a birth plan for the past few months. Honestly, it's been something that's been on my mind probably since my first trimester when I actually found out I was pregnant. And it's been very important to me to understand my birth plan, understand what I'd like, what I wouldn't like. Now, obviously, birth plans don't obviously go as planned. So I do plan on updating this postpartum, things I'd change, things I'd edit, maybe even things I didn't even use or didn't like. So stay tuned for that. I wanted to go over my birth plan, just some things I've drafted up that I feel that you should probably add into your birth plan as well, or things that you should at least think about for your actual due date. So one thing I didn't think about was actually the actual people in the labor and delivery room. I would go ahead and look up for whatever delivery space you're having for your hospital. If it's a single room, if it's a private room, or if it's a shared space, I would learn about that and know about that probably before you go ahead and draft up your birth plan. I would also recommend, if you can, some hospitals offer tours. Take a tour. You can do a virtual tour. Mine unfortunately didn't do any in-person tours, but they did do virtual tours, which was still awesome. My hospital also added a tentative birth plan template on their website, so I would take a look if your hospital does the same. So I did model my birth plan off of several different ones that I'd seen. So I had done a lot of research, whether it was PDFs on Pinterest, on Etsy, or even the ones from different hospitals. But I would, if you are, like I said before, if you are delivering in a hospital, please look up what your hospital provides, what they don't provide, because that would be imperative to how your birth plan actually goes. So you don't want to have some things on there that they don't provide or they don't have that service. But for my hospital specifically, we're allowed to have up to 4 guests. To me, that seems like a lot, especially with all the doctors in there. But it is a private room. For me personally, I would like to have more of a private birth. I would like to have anyone who is required to be there be there. So for this, because this is my first pregnancy, my first baby, I'm not having any students or any sort of anybody who's not technically meant to be in there at the time, just because I want this to be more of a private experience. I feel like my mind will change once I have more, if we decide to have more children. But for me personally, I wanted this to be a very calming, easy experience. I don't know really what to expect. So if I can make this as personal as possible, I will. So for me, going into labor, I have my husband in there as the primary one who's going to be, he knows this birth plan pretty much front to back. Any edits I make, he's aware of it, and we go over this pretty often. And then my mom there, because I want her to be there for that experience. I'll probably be filling her in as well with the birth plan, so that'll be another thing. But those are the main 2 people of my family members that I would like to have in my delivery room. Another thing is, what that's really important is the atmosphere. A lot of people have different things that they like. Personally, I don't like the big lights in the hospital. I don't like really big lights anyway. And what I mean by big lights, but like ceiling lights, LED lights, things like that. I like to have any warm ambient lighting. So I would pretty much, for what I said for my atmosphere, was quiet with a few interruptions. As possible, because you will have nurses checking in on you. But I will be communicating a lot of the information through my husband, who will be communicating with the nurses, just because I don't want to have to be shouting across the room. It's not really what I want to be focusing on. He's going to be my communicator, if you will. So the lights, if I can have them dimmed or just completely off, this would obviously depend on where the room is. Fortunately, I did learn that all of the maternity spaces, all of the delivery rooms are close to window, or are all the delivery rooms have windows. So depending on the time of day, I would like to have the windows open, the lights off. If the lights are off, or if it is dark, I'm gonna have a night light or a little light in there. They do have lamps, so this would be perfect. I know also some people, which I don't personally think I'll do, but they have a lot of people bring diffusers into their delivery room. I'm not going to do that just because I don't want another thing to bring to the hospital. So I'll just bring a little thing of essential oils. The one that I picked currently is just lavender. I do want to go around to see if I can find some other ones, but lavender is always my biggest one. Lavender and lemongrass. So I'll be bringing those two with me. Those are also optional, but I just feel like I would want an extra sensory element to my delivery. So, upon going atmosphere, I'm going to move on to the pain management. Personally, and this is just a personal preference, this is something that you would need to figure out on your own. I'm not saying this is anything that you should be following verbatim, but for me personally, I'm going to try my hardest to do a natural birth. Epidural's not off the table, but I know there is a certain window that you have to hit in case that you might want to. Epidural is not off the list, but I know there's obviously a certain window, when the last minute is that you can take it. But I am taking a few natural birthing classes, and so far it's been really good. I understand that it is more of a mental battle than it is physical, and that's something I've had to wrap my head around. But I'll go over those if you guys would like. In terms of like how to naturally give birth, I wouldn't know until I can experience it. So I will say on my birth plan, epidural is not off the table, but I am refusing to be induced if it can be avoided. But I'm gonna right now refuse to be induced. I just don't feel comfortable with that right now. So we'll see how that goes. But those are my guidelines for my birth plan. And like I said, these are all subjective. So if you have something that's different, please go ahead and do your research, because that's really kind of what all this is about. Do your research on every part of your birth plan. That's the most important part. So I have what we call alternative medicine, which would just be like breathing, anything that's just not being injected or introduced to your body that you don't have to. But alternative medicine would be breathing, massages. My husband's we've gone over several couples massages that he'll do for my hips, my pelvic area, things like that, stretches, etc. During delivery, I would prefer to be in a kneeling position, which would basically just be my back against the birthing bed. Me kneeling on the birthing bed and kind of me leaning on the birthing bed. So it's really not going to be me on my back. I hear that it's not everybody tells pregnant women that you shouldn't be on your back anyway, so I don't know if I'd feel comfortable birthing on my back anyway. Aside from that, there's also a lot of recommendations as to why it's not really recommended. It is the norm, but I would prefer just to go on my knees. I've also been doing a lot of squats, a lot of squats, a lot of stretching. That does help with this birthing position, so that's what I would prefer to go into. If there is available a squat bar, if I'm feeling up to it, a squat bar or a birthing ball, which is like the round yoga ball that women typically bounce on. There's also, check and see if your hospital has this available, but a peanut ball, which is basically, it almost looks like a peanut, the shape of a peanut. You can use that as well. That's really great for kind of squeezing your thighs together, getting those hips conditioned and stretched. So I would recommend a look at your hospital to see if they do provide those materials. So after delivery, this is the one part that it means probably the most to me out of all of the points in the birth plan. But one thing that's really important is going straight from after delivery, after she's out, placing her right on my chest for a skin to skin contact. One thing that I'm prioritizing postpartum is breastfeeding, just as more of a personal thing. but I would like to see how long I'd like to breastfeed. And I hear a lot of the things that I've researched is skin to skin contact literally as soon as she's birthed, as soon as baby's birthed. So I'll have them kind of quickly clean up if she needs it. I don't want to have any shots immediately or any tests, anything like that, unless it is needed. But if it is possible, her coming straight to me and lying on my chest. And I do plan to breastfeed within the hour of her being born, so we'll see how that goes. But that's why it's probably the most important part for me in this birth plan. So I also have my husband cutting the umbilical cord, also doing the cord cutting. Sorry, I have in here my husband cutting the umbilical cord. That's probably another important thing that I want for my husband to have. I also start on here as well, which are several notes, but I have also started on here is if my baby needs to be separated, I would like my husband's name to accompany her. So this is something that's really important because I'm obviously not going to be able to get out of bed. My mom is going to be there, but I'd want her to be looking after me. So that's just one point about it that I feel it is most important. I also listed, if you have any, please list your allergies, whether it be allergies to medication, food allergies, anything like that. Please make sure you list these on there. I have several allergies, but I have a really bad allergy to penicillin. So I'll just make the office aware of that as well. Also, another thing too, I don't know if you guys know, before you deliver, most hospitals have you sign a form or sign in some check-in information. If you are available to have your partner do that, or whoever is accompanying you to labor, have them sign those papers because I'm sure you won't be in the right mind to do it. But that's why I think it's very important for you to have a drafted up, written birth plan that you can share with people, share with whoever is going with you to the labor and delivery room. So not only they're aware, but you're also being able to have someone advocate for you if things happen to change. So then I went ahead and listed all the medications that follow. If you are planning on birthing in a hospital, please go ahead and make sure you do a little bit of research on what all goes in to post-birth, what all was required or what all is routinely checked for the baby. So medications, shots, vaccinations, all that. I would do your research on that and make a list of what you're comfortable having and also a timeline of when you plan on having it done. I would like for, post delivery for me not to be disturbed within the first hour of being post delivery. Obviously, you do have to birth the placenta, and that usually, for most people, happens within the first minutes to hour of giving birth. So I would really recommend going over the medications. Also, when the hospital requires those medications are administered to baby. One of the things I have on here as well is for the nurses, doctors, whoever, to ask out loud before they administer whatever medication. So if they are planning to do the vitamin K shot, just let me know that it's happening rather than just say, hey, we're doing this. Ask. The answer is going to be yes or no, and then that will follow. I do think it is important for the nursing staff to be open and communicative. So other than that, this is pretty much all that is within my birth plan. I'm sure there are some more points that I could add on here, but these are the main elements of my birth plan. If there's anything that you guys have or suggest, or maybe there's something that you guys want to do or don't want to do, please let me know in the comments. I love hearing other people's opinions. I take it with a grain of salt, but I think this will also be very interesting for other moms who are going through the same process and kind of need a little bit more guidance on what to plan, what not to plan for, things like that. So if you guys have any comments or suggestions, please leave them down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.